here's my review of F1 the movie. Honestly, this movie is great. I loved it. And I could care less about Formula One, but this movie really does live up to the hype. And just like it says right down here, film for IMAX, you gotta see it in IMAX. IMAX, I don't think I've ever seen a movie in IMAX, but this movie, before it's coming out, we gotta go see it in IMAX. I have to. And yes, from the sound design, on just on a technical level, everything is just perfect. It's awesome. This movie is pretty simplistic in a movie you've probably seen before. Of course, Brad Pitt's character, Sonny Hayes, he plays a retired Formula One racer who got injured, and then he's forced to come back because the manager of a Formula One team, Ruben Cervantes, played by Javier Bardem, who is great. All these actors are great. He is losing, this team is losing, and they have a hotshot new driver, played by Damson Idris, named Joshua Pierce, and he's got that really snarky personality. And then, of course, there's the stereotypical love interest played by Carrie Condon, who is also great. Her name is Kate McKenna. I have all my notes here. I'm just going to say that right now. Because that does kind of show, the characters themselves. The fact that they're not really super memorable. Because it is something you've seen a million times. This movie is not anything new. It's a lot of things that you've seen a lot, but just done so well. And let me just talk about Carrie Condon. She's obviously a main character, but Kate McKenna as one of the big, kind of like a PR lady, and her character is surface level, it is. But and I would say in many ways a lot of this movie is surface level, but it's still great. It is. And you can't talk about this movie without talking about just the epic racing scenes. Because this is a very long movie, and so you're gonna get multiple racing scenes, and when you're in the cockpit of these cars, it just feels otherworldly. From the sound to the visuals, it's so hard to describe. Joshua's character, and you see how cocky he is. He's you almost hate him, but you kind of want to see him succeed. And then Brad Pitt, because he's older, it's so weird. A lot of this movie, they also say, oh, this guy is an old man. And for Formula One racing, he is, but it's they're acting like he's 80 something. He's not that old, but obviously for the sport, he is. And they kind of just bully him about it, which just makes him, you just want to see him win even more. It's of course, it's just Top Gun Maverick again, but with cars. Where it's oh, this guy's old, he doesn't know what he's talking about. Oh, because he's old, he's experienced. It's very predictable, and that's kind of why it was so good, because it was just done so well. And from the sound design and just all the cinematography is just so excellent. And it's really just the dynamic between Brad and Damson's characters, and just almost this back and forth bickering that just makes it so good. Joshua and Sonny, they're so, in a way, they're kind of similar, because they even say oh, when I was a kid, I was really cocky like you. And it's you just this bickering is just so much fun to see when you have actors as good as them. Of course, everyone knows Brad Pitt, but I will say I'm not really familiar with Damson Idris at all, but he was fantastic in this movie. And just, like I said, just the racing scenes, from the car crashes, when there are car crashes, when you see it in IMAX, they just feel intense. You feel you're just getting hit, from the sound to the cinematography. Just like I said, because I watched it in IMAX, I might be a little bit even more biased or hyping it up, because it was just such an amazing experience. This movie feels it's an experience of a movie, where the story itself is quite simplistic, and there's not really much to talk about in terms of story. It's really just the movie itself and just the feeling of it. It's just otherworldly. And it's very interesting seeing, oh, of course you have the young guys doing all this fancy high-tech training. He's doing, he has heart monitors on, proper breathing machines as he's getting his heart rate up, just to, and I will say, I know nothing about Formula One, so it's part of me is I wonder why do you have to do this just to drive the car? But I guess it's you have to be able to just keep up with how fast you're going, like proper breathing exercises. And that's fascinating. And it's just so funny because you see Joshua just doing all these fancy training, and then you have Sonny like doing these other like training where it's like it's just this neck training because you have to be able to keep your neck up from how fast you're going. It's just so polar opposite that it just feels so old school versus new school. And like, oh, of course, like, oh, the old guy, he's smart because he's old. It's like, is it predictable? Yes, but is it awesome? 100%. It's awesome. This movie is great. And then you do have like the romantic subplot between Brad Pitt and Carrie Condon, and it's fine. I mean, it's not really super necessary, but like for what it is, it's a pretty good and well written subplot. But it's like it feels like it's one of those things where it's like they just kind of added it because I want to have some romance in here, but it's certainly not bad at all. But it's really just Sonny and Joshua that just carry this movie. Just the tension between them as eventually like they're these enemies but working on the same team. So it's just this internal tension because they need to work together. But it's like you could just feel them just butting heads the whole movie. It's just so fascinating. And at a certain point, Joshua gets seriously injured, and then he's regaining his strength because this is a long movie, about 2.5 hours. And it's like, but even though it is so long, it just flies by because of how well the pacing is, how great the action is, how great the camera work is, and just the writing. Although because it's a simplistic story, it never allows it to get overly complicated, and because of that, it kind of flies by. Like I thought, I didn't really end up checking my phone, I think, at all to see what time it was. I was just that engaged in the movie because it's fantastic. And this is a very funny movie, especially I think from Joshua's, as because his character, and of course Brad Pitt is also very funny in this movie because he's got that old school like know-it-all attitude. But Joshua's just cockiness is just what's so funny here. It's like you kind of hate him, but in a way you want to see him succeed. And that's what's interesting about like movies just in general. It's like you can write a character that you almost want to see succeed even if you don't like him. And that's fascinating. That's what I think shows a well-written movie. It's like, I don't even know if I like this character, but I don't like him. But I also kind of do. It's just so conflicting. And that's great. And wow, like when these cars go in to like the cockpit and like whatever it's called. Like I said, I don't really know anything about racing, but I know these things where they come in, they change the tires, the oil, all that stuff. It's just so intense. It is just they have to take off the wheels, change the oil, check the tire pressure, just do everything in like 10 seconds or like probably like 30 seconds. I don't know. Like your heart is pounding. It is just you're there. And then when there's like a jam, like they jammed on someone messed up, and then there's this like little internal conflict between Joshua and the one lady who messed it up, and they kind of just yells at her later. And then Brad Pitt, of course, like helps her and stands up for her. But it's just that intensity is there throughout this entire movie. And I feel like this scene is like the epitome of it. It's just great. And of course, just the camera work. When you just feel those crashes, they feel like they just feel so big. Like they feel like, wow, that's a serious injury. And they are. Because this movie takes place over a year. I mean, because at a certain point, I mean, Joshua's got to recover, Sonny's got to recover. It's just feels so big and grand scale. It's like, this is the kind of movie, like, not to sound generic, but it's like, this is the movie you watch on the big screen. It's just a big movie. So yeah, are the characters generic, and is this a generic plot? 100%, it is. But it was awesome. So yeah, it's kind of interesting I was able to go for almost a full 10 minutes, even though I say that this movie itself isn't really super complex, but it's just the characters, the cinematography, the action. It just feels so grand, yet it's a simplistic plot that I think anyone can follow, and that's what just is so great about it. They're able to make something relatively simplistic feel grand. Like, the characters, I love them. The action, I love them. The sound and the cinematography, like I said, you got to see this in IMAX if you haven't seen it yet. Try to see it while you can, while it's still in IMAX. I thought it was great. Definitely one of the best movies of the year. Definitely in probably my top 2. I thought it was fantastic. I definitely check it out. It's great.